have good news for you. Saint Greta and her crew of useful idiots are on their way to save Gaza. This topmost journalist in Gaza has been promoted to an eternity of deflowering virgins. Graham Lenihan is the new beneficiary of the UK's proud history of freedom of speech. The world's leading genocide experts just did something to attract Hamas's rare admiration. Trump has been declared a war criminal by the Supreme Court of leftist keyboard warriors. And these women just ended the UK migrant crisis with the sheer power of willful ignorance. Look, it doesn't get better than this. So grab your soda, get your popcorn ready. I have the best news stories that will blow your mind.
Best channel on Egypt.
Saint Greta is back. She has joined the 4th flotilla of boats loaded with aid and activists for Gaza, set to sail from Barcelona. They aim to break the so-called siege and stop the imaginary genocide, or in the words of Saint Greta of Stockholm, this is a mission to challenge the extremely violent business-as-usual international system that is failing to uphold international law. Yes, Greta went from high school dropout to international law expert in just a few years. And this new stunt, which she calls a global uprising, is massive. Boats are joining from Greece, Italy, and Tunisia. They already have 250 metric tons of food. And I hope they get to deliver it in person and experience Palestinian hospitality. Meanwhile, Sudan is wondering if they'll have to kidnap Jews for this level of attention. It has the largest humanitarian crisis, displacement crisis, and hunger crisis. I mean, it is breaking all sorts of wrong records with casualty numbers that make Gaza look like paradise, yet no flotilla or protest.
If we do so, then that is, in my view, very much racism that we select which people we care about.
This terrorist is no more. The IDF took him out in their recent precision strike in Gaza. Another instance of Israel willfully targeting Palestinian journalists. I mean, someone had described this man as a one-man army, the voice of the voiceless terrorist of Gaza. And that was accompanied by an AI-generated picture of him putting his boot on Bibi's neck. But sadly, Allah did not do a good job of protecting the one-man army. And Israel has revealed the name and face behind the mask and has vowed that soon, many more of his partners in crime, the murderers and rapists of Hamas, will join him at the bottom of hell. Meanwhile, Hamas is playing the victim, calling this an attack on a populated residential building with dozens of deaths and injuries. And it wants the Arab and Muslim states and the UN to intervene.
You're nothing, boy!
Top scholars of genocide studies have declared that Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza. That's major news. Reuters mentioned that this resolution is from a leading genocide scholars association. The Associated Press stated that it is the largest professional organization of scholars studying genocide with 500 members worldwide. And this resolution was supported by 86% of those who voted. But the BBC went out of character to state that only 28% of members voted. And the resolution is based on Hamas-led Ministry of Health report that doesn't distinguish between civilians and soldiers. But they didn't mention this new Nutella restaurant in Gaza, or this one that posts videos like this every day on Instagram. But I'm sure these experts are right on this, like they were about COVID. And by experts, they mean anyone who has $125 to spare each year. That's what it takes to join the world's leading genocide scholars association.
I have to be very professional, Pierce.
Let me introduce you to the new IAGS members, the new academics and scholarly experts in genocide prevention, education, and punishment. We have Shiv Palpatine, Mo Kuki, and Adolf Hitler from Gaza. These are real members of the IAGS, the world's leading genocide scholars association. A nation like Iraq, known for its academic prowess, has produced 80 of the 500 top genocide scholars of this association. But an actual genocide scholar, the author of Gender and Genocide in Rwanda, and a member of the IAGS, said the resolution's voting process was a disaster. She said the association promised a town hall to deliberate on the controversial resolution, but the president reversed it, and they have refused to disclose those who authored the resolution. Plus, the resolution makes unsubstantiated claims, is poorly cited, and perpetuates a distorted analysis of the Israel-Hamas war. No wonder Hamas, the peace-loving resistance movement that wants to repeat October 7 over and over again, has hailed the resolution. But the real question here, which is more problematic than the Islamic dilemma, is who will you believe, an actual genocide scholar or Shiv Palpatine?
It is time for a change.
Israel has qualified for the round of 16 at Eurobasket. That's Europe's premier international men's basketball competition. To qualify, Israel defeated France and Belgium. And what do these countries have in common? They both plan to recognize a Palestinian state. I am not the one making this about geopolitics. This is the reality of the world that we live in today. I mean, in the game, fans booed when Israel's national anthem was sung. A demonstration held outside the stadium when Israel was having their first game. People held signs that said, "Stop the genocide and Israel is the real terrorist." This is all happening in Poland, where Israeli players were advised to hide national symbols and maintain a low profile for security reasons. You see, Auschwitz is not just a symbol of Jewish survival, but also a symbol of Polish culture.
We are proud of that.
Trump just struck a boat coming out of Venezuela. He claimed on Truth Social that this was a strike against TDA, a US designated terror organization allegedly run by the current president of Venezuela. And Trump wants this to serve as a notice to those planning to bring drugs into the United States. But for Reuters and Al Jazeera, Trump killed 11 people on an alleged drug boat from innocent Venezuela. And some sensible people are calling this strike illegal, going against civilized norms, a war crime. Some ask, does drug trafficking warrant death? Others firmly assert that it doesn't carry a death sentence. Yes, in 2023 there were 105,000 deaths in the US from drug overdoses. Fentanyl overdoses have claimed over 250,000 lives since 2018. But why should drug traffickers be blown off the sea? Recently, Trump has deployed 7 warships and a nuclear-powered fast attack submarine to fight drug cartels in the Southern Caribbean. But why? Drug trafficking is a crime, but not an act of war, right?
Wrong.
Do you know that my fans are the best? They watch, they like, they subscribe, and some go the extra mile. These are the MVPs. They put their money where my mouth is. Honorable mentions go to Joel, Dan, and Myra. Oh, Myra, I wrote a poem for you. Roses are red, violets are blue. You despise Muhammad. Wow, me too. You too can become an MVP by heading to my Buy Me a Coffee page and supporting my ministry. Give $100 and unlock my poetic creativity. Make it a monthly commitment and my love is yours for life. Just head over to buymeacoffee.com/NIG Perspective. That's NIGPERSPECTIVE. The link is in the video description and the pinned comment. So what are you waiting for? Give me your money now.
Moving on.
In an open letter, prominent UK women tell right-wingers, stop linking immigration to sexual abuse. These are the women, and they reject the far-right racist lies about protecting women and girls. They also assert that there is no evidence that people seeking refuge are more likely to commit acts of sexual violence. That is based on the age-old scientific research methodology of turning a blind eye. Yes, 1 in every 100 migrants housed in hotels in the UK has appeared before a magistrate this year, making 339 cases in total. 29 are related to sexual offenses and 64 are violent related offenses. But under the scrutiny of turning a blind eye, all these reports disappear, and refugees, mostly men of fighting age, are survivors of violence, like this man who just happened to be a human and drug smuggler.
That's what they do.
This UK comic and creator of Father Ted was arrested by the Met Police for transphobic tweets. This tweet of his from a few months ago apparently incites violence against trans people. So after arriving at Heathrow Airport from Arizona, 5 police officers escorted him off the plane, arrested him and interrogated him on his transphobic behavior on Twitter. That's serious police work. Up to 30 people a day are arrested in the UK for serious offenses like retweeting and posting cartoons. This is the history of free speech that Keir Starmer was proud of when confronted by J.D. Vance. Or maybe he meant that freedom of speech is ancient history in UK, an achievement that he is proud of. That's why an elite police squad have been unleashed to monitor anti-migrant posts on social media.
In relation to free speech in the UK, I'm very proud of our history there.
The saga continues, but this time the Irish comic and the creator of IT Crowd and Black Books is on trial for relentlessly harassing trans activist Sophia Brooks, and he showed up looking like this. So much bigotry and transphobia on full display. Where is the Met Police when you need them? That's why this US senator is certain that free speech exists in the UK, refuting an actual citizen of the UK giving his testimony at a US congressional hearing on the state of free speech in the UK. For this senator, where free speech doesn't exist is in the United States, because Trump is literally Joseph Stalin for firing federal government workers who hate him. Yes, a boss who fires his employees for badmouthing him on social media is an evil, murderous dictator. But a country where an Irishman gets arrested for tweets made in Arizona, where retweets are a punishable offense, and where an online post can get you 31 months in jail. Yes, that country is the bastion of free speech.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
In Niger State, Nigeria, a woman was stoned and burnt to death for blasphemy against the religion of peace. The victim here was a food vendor and a Muslim woman who was arguing with her nephew, and he had told her jokingly that he wanted to marry her to fulfill the sunnah. Her reply to him was considered blasphemous, angering the young men in the area who had nothing better to do with their lives. So she was taken to the palace of the district head of the community, who felt the case needed further investigation. But no, the bloodthirsty demon of Arabia had already possessed the angry, jobless mob. After the lynching, the police noted that normalcy had been restored to the area. Yes, a woman was just slaughtered in barbaric fashion to restore normalcy, because human sacrifice is the sixth pillar of Islam.
That's what they do.
Mohammed is the most common name among welfare recipients in Germany. The details of this story are hilarious. It all began when AfD, a right-wing party in Germany, asked the federal government for the most common first names on the list of welfare recipients, and the response they got was Andreas, Thomas, and Daniel. But it turned out that on the list, the same name could have a different spelling, and it was listed as a different name, like Thomas spelled with a TH and Thomas spelled with a T, or Mohammed with an M, or Mohammed with two M's. So a name can appear multiple times with different spellings, and I kid you not, the name Mohammed had 19 different spellings and variants, 2 of which were already among the top 50 names on the list. When every variant is considered as a single name, Mohammed comes on top, Ahmed is third, and Ali is 10th. So 3 Muslim names are the top 10 common first names of welfare recipients in Germany. But the federal government wants to make it clear that a first name doesn't determine a person's nationality. I mean, we all know at least 2 or more native Germans who go by Mohammed, right?
Wrong.
Look, the video is over, but some of you are yet to support hate speech by destroying the like button and even subscribing. What are you waiting for? Do the needful. And thank you for your attention to this matter.